All right, guys. Hey, thanks for joining me today. Late model 4020 power shift diesel 3 hydraulics. If I won the lottery, this would be a project. We lost reverse, or they lost reverse, driving around the shop, just trying to see, what's going on with the transmission. The oil was so stiff that with the reverse pack being out, when you put it in reverse and started letting the clutch pedal out, the tractor would take off backwards for just a little bit, and then all of a sudden, boop, it'd go forward. And the clutch pack of reverse was not strong enough to overpower all that cold oil drag, and then it would just go forward. And you power shift guys know what I mean, that when that oil is that cold, sometimes you got to tap the brakes to stop the tractor. But there was a lot of talk on between the 20 series and 30 and 40 series forums on the Facebook groups, and guys with power shifts and park. And so I thought, let's just go through a basic theory of operation of that park system, and hopefully it helps somebody. So if we start up here at the dash, this is going to be your park movement. This is your forward, neutral, reverse rod, and then this is your gear selector rod. This one's out of place because there's no valve body hooked to it, so it falls out of place. But we come out of park, you can see this one dip down. We can always check these pins and holes for wear and tear and slop. Our brackets holding the park cable in place here and one here, make sure they're good. But when we go into park, sometimes you get that spring feeling, and it's very difficult because our cable is hooked to this guy. And the reason that it looks funny like that is so when we come out of park, our cable extends. So it's always a positive engagement to disengage park. When we go into park, if our park pawl isn't engaging in the gear, and I'll show you in a second, then we're going to pull against this spring, and that's what you're feeling here at the lever. You're feeling at the lever here. You're pulling this spring, so if the tractor does rock or move at any point, the park pawl will click into place and hold the tractor there. Kind of a good idea, simple idea. This is a very typical reason why we're having a park problem is this roll pin was gone. You have a shaft right here that this sits on, and so we're obviously, since that cable shrinks, we're coming forward for park and going backwards to get out of park. And so that's a roll. You can change that yourself. It's a pain in the butt because you usually got a working platform, your operating platform here. You have the other half of the tractor in the way, and maybe a battery box. So you get that battery box out of the way. It's tight, it's dark. You got plumbing that's coming across here, so it's kind of a miserable suck to put that roll pin in, but it's a doable job on your own. It's just a matter of time and determination. So what's going inside the tractor is you can see this ramp and you can see that roller. So as we want to go, so right now we're out of park, and there's a spring that goes here for cinematic quality. I removed the spring so you could see the roller and the cam, the helix. So as he comes, as you pull the lever, he comes in, but see, he can't go. Oh, there he finally went. Okay, so that's simulated our spring there. So as he comes around, it pushes on that roller and pushes that finger into place. Like I said, if it won't quite go into park, then then it, you get out of the tractor, you had to pull that lever hard, and then at some point during the night, the tractor rolls, and that spring clicks it into park. So in the morning, the tractor's not down in the barn with the cows. This mechanism here and this shift collar here, that is just your toe disconnect. It is just a collar shift, and that's all it is. You can see here, though, we have a problem going on, is this pin is out of position. This pin is supposed to be sticking through. And so They make an updated, it's a kit. You get a cotter pin, a washer, a new pin, and a new roller. It's this whole little kit. And you can change that. So if you break this pin, which isn't uncommon, it happens once in a while, that pin will get broke. You can change this by taking this shaft out right behind your cam. This shaft is just the shaft for your toe disconnect. You can pull that shaft out with your shift cover off, and with a couple needle nose, a magnet, O-ring pick, and a few extra hands, you can get this old pin out and the new pin in. To change the park pawl, you have to pull your pack, because this is the shaft right here, and there's the other end of it right there by that tube, and you got to get that snap ring off, and then you can pull it forward. So you got to get to this level if you break that park paw. So the best advice I have is make sure the tractor is stopped and don't just be jamming it into park, because that would be a very, very expensive fix for just a park paw. While we're here, actually, yeah. So that's it in a nutshell of how your park is working and what's going on. Your 3-point. So people always wonder, well, what the heck's going on? So this arm is, the load shaft is right under the differential right here. We can't see it from the top. This arm is down there, and so the control valve is like the governor on an injection pump. You're moving a spring tension, you're not moving the fuel rack. So here, when you move your lever, you're just moving spring tension, you're not moving the valves. So your rock shaft, the shaft that your arms are on, sits here, and that's an eccentric. It's like a crankshaft, it's not a perfectly round. So as it changes positions, so you move your lever in the cab to come up a little bit, that's going to open these valves. It's going to pull on the spring and open these valves, and the valves have a follower on this back side. And so as them arms change, as them arms come up, it's going to move this arm, and that's going to push on the follower on this back side to the valves. And at some point, the springs are going to get to a position where they equalize. And when they equalize, the valves close, and you're now at that height. And if you lower it, then the springs are the other way, and it's going to move the other way, which brings the follower the other way, and the springs will go down until they equalize the other direction. So it's fairly simple, but very complicated at the same time. But while we're there, I thought I'd just show you that. Playing detective when this thing come apart. First thing we noticed is the trans cover had silicone sticking out. So you're like, well, that's not a good sign. I don't like silicone, people. These cover bolts were just hammered down tight. The 3-point bolts were fairly loose. These big bolts that hold these two housings together were fairly loose, and this gasket is glued on. So I had to take a jack and come in the middle here right in front of my stand and lift up and just keep lifting until that gasket broke. On these power shifts, there's O-rings. That's the packing here, and you got several over here. You got to make sure you get them packings back in place before you put it back together. And these big bolts, yeah, these big bolts were fairly loose. Thank God the gasket was siliconed on. But somebody's been in here. Somebody's been in here because this plate is cold, and look how heavy that metal is, and it discolored that. Not uncommon. PTOs fail, not uncommon, but somebody must have just rebuilt it because everything looks way too good for a cover that's gold. So, here's your transmission. Here's the culprit. We did all of this tear down for this little O-ring. He rides right in here. So you got a packing on the outside of your piston, and then you got a packing for the inside of the piston. When you hit this with air, it just blew air out. The piston did nothing. On the other elements, you come in here with air and you can see it poop, poop. And yeah, so the good news is everything looks really good. All the plates and discs look really good. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of warpage of anything. There's no bluing on the plates, and sometimes you will see a pattern. If this plate is warped, you would see a shine on the middle or a shine on the outside and a dullness on the opposite. Or you'd see a shine, dull, because it'd get wavy. But for the most part, everything looks really good. So it's a matter of just taking a lot of time and pulling all these pistons out, putting all the new packings on, and getting them in and just getting everything cleaned up, washed up, and ready for reassembly. Same on the shift valve. Pop him apart, just clean it all up, and put that back together. Pretty straightforward. That's it in a nutshell. And so, all right, guys, thanks for joining me today. Hopefully somebody finds this useful or helpful. And so, okay, thank you.